This is a wonderful start after our closing session of Adda, 2.0. This is Adda 3.0. And and I think it's a very interesting topic. We are talking about holistic financial planning for seniors. It is very close to my heart, being a senior citizen myself, right? So this is something wonderful, and because see, basically, this is the bedrock of physical health and mental health of all senior citizens. So I think this will be very absorbing, sessions that we are going to go through on this. So where we can take it step by step. So maybe the first one could be, how you can really plan the post-retire, the funding and all of that. How do you take care of your monthly expenses, your medical expenses, things like your, emergency hospitalization expenses. Thereafter, when the funds start coming in, because your monthly check will never come now. So you'll have to plan your monthly, payment cycle to how do you handle that. Taxation comes in as a very important area where a minimum taxation so that it does not become burdensome to the senior citizen, things like that. Issues like, very basic issues like banking. Now today's banking is very complex. It's not just signing checks. You have to manage your accounts, you have to manage your user ID, you have to manage your, password and things like that. If you have multiple bank accounts, it becomes a big headache. So how do you really handle that? And where you need support? Going back to your own funding, ultimately you will have to have your, things like creating a will. Who are the nominees? How do you really maintain the nomination facility? How do you get the will registered? These are all so many questions I think the senior citizens keep grappling with. And sometimes it becomes extremely complex. And then on top of it, we have the cyber security issues. Today it is a huge issue. A link, you press a link, then God knows what happens. Your bank account gets cleared or whatever. So I think this is a very absorbing session, individual session that we are talking about. And we have eminent speakers like all of you. So to take this forward to the next level. So all the best for our session going forward. Okay, so over to Sansita.
Thank you for the very good setup of the session. So before we begin this session, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our anchor, Ms Paroma Ganguly, for the session. She brings with her over 2 decades of experience in advertising, brand building, leadership and communication, having held leadership roles across global networks and built and scaled healthcare and development communication practices. But what makes her journey particularly relevant to our community is how she has chosen to bring that experience into the world of social impact, particularly across gender, health, and aging. At the heart of her work is the belief that communication is much more than simply putting a message out there. It has the power to shape how people are seen, how ideas are understood, how trust is built, and ultimately how people act. Today, she works with organizations and leaders to strengthen the creative communication strategies and visibility, while increasingly focusing on building the voices and visibility of women through initiatives such as Build to Be Seen Labs and Women Impact Communication. Her work beautifully brings together brand, narrative, leadership, communication, and systems thinking, with a larger focus of creating stronger voices, stronger organizations, and stories that can move people and create meaningful impact. And I think what this makes her the perfect person to have us guiding our conversation today. So with a very deep pleasure, I would like to welcome Paroma ma'am and invite her to take the session forward. Welcome and thank you so much for being with us today, ma'am.
Thank you, Sansita, and welcome to everybody to Adda 3.0. It's been my absolute pleasure and privilege to be part of SilverGenie's journeys of Addas for the last 2 seasons. And I'm delighted to welcome Vaishali Karna to this session with us. I have personally known Vaishali for close to 1/4 of a century, that is 25 long years. And I cannot emphasize how much from a young person to a middle-aged woman today, I have learned about finance and managing and growing wealth from her. Vaishali herself brings about 30 years of experience And she's a seasoned financial advisor who has worked with ultra high net worth and high net worth individuals, families and family offices, entrepreneurs, and even business owners, advising them on not just growing wealth, but also preserving what you grow and making it work for you across generations. She began her career and spent over 2 decades with BNP Paribas Wealth, where she played a key role in building their portfolio and profile across their India franchisee and prominently advised family offices and business families. And today, through Maple Capital Services, she provides independent, objective, need-based, tailor-made advice to clients to help them achieve their long-term financial goals, and covers portfolios across length and breadth of categories. Why she is best placed to talk to us today, besides all her financial acumen, is that she is also a caregiving individual to a single parent, a mother, which makes her closely connected to what we are going to talk about, which is how seniors can look at planning their wealth and the future of their finances to be able to look after themselves as they get older. Vaishali, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you, and we're looking forward to hearing from you and learning from you. Without wasting any more time, I want to dive deep into what we can talk about later today, but begin with something very, very simple. From where you sit and from all your experience, Vaishali, what could you tell our audience about some of the basic mantras for investing, no matter how old you are or how much money you have? Where do you think the starting point is, and what are some of those basic mantras for investing?
Thanks, Paroma, for the introduction. I think you have quite inflated my introduction. But keeping in mind our audience, I will keep the presentation very simple. And the more I work and more I learn, I realize the simpler things you had done, the better you would be. In today's day and age, there are many, many financial products which many of us can't understand, right? So it's a very simple mantra how you can look after your retirement. My first thing is, and I should begin, is starting early. When my son started working, I gave him this narrative, and you'd be surprised it holds for a 20-year-old, 50-year-old, or a 70-year-old, right? First thing is to start early, right? It is always best to start early. It is never too, but it's never too late also to start. So the right time to start is yesterday, and the second best time is to start today. So if any of you who have not started, our audience who's not started financial planning, it's okay. You don't need to get unnerved about it, and today is also the right time. Then regarding amounts, now each one of us have a different amount we think of beginning with, right? Some people in crores and some people as low as a few hundred rupees. So this is my basic thing is that you can even start very, very small. The financial industry is quite getting evolved, and especially with mutual funds, you can start as low as 500 rupees. Don't think it's too small, because you will see how the power of compounding is going to grow your wealth, right? So then your main conviction should be compounding. So you put in 100, that money compounds, and slowly money start compounding. So please start early. Amount is irrelevant, and let the monies, you don't have to worry about it every day. Then the time horizon, okay, we are all at a different stage of our life, but try and keep money for a little longer time. If you put in 100 rupees and the monies increase, you're like, okay, let me take the monies out. No, the monies should be kept for a longer period of time. But see, anything can happen, right? There can be like a premature death of a member, or somebody suddenly gets dependent on you, or the person you are dependent on is not there. So at any time you should start investing. And very, very basically, I'm telling you, the avenues for investments are in plenty. So they can be a mutual fund, PPF, NPS. I personally prefer a mutual fund avenue because of its liquidity, flexibility, and very conducive for senior citizens, as they can withdraw monies at any point. And it's very transparent. It's a 85 lakh crore industry, and if you have not participated, I would highly encourage everyone in this forum to participate.
Vaishali, I
So
think you make some very interesting points. I heard you talk about mutual funds, PPF, NPS. I also heard you say some very important things. One is that no amount of money is small when you're starting out, and therefore that should not deter one from investing. And the other very important thing you talked about is compounding. I would really like to hear from you a little bit about how all of these things that you talked about, the basic 5 mantras, really stack up against the changing nature of the world that we live in. And therefore, why is investing becoming more and more important today? So why don't you talk a little bit to our audiences about the importance of investment, especially those who feel that this is not for me?
Okay, so the dynamics of the world, and especially in India, have really been changing. And I did some research. According to the World Bank, the inflation at this point is 7.2%. And suppose you're a retiree and you're spending 1 lakh rupee per month, which also is a substantial monies if you're not earning, then you will need 2.06 lakhs by 2031 and 4.2 lakhs per month by 2041, which is only 15 years away. So if you're 60 years old and by 71, you have to ensure, just to maintain the same lifestyle, you have to be getting 4.25 lakh per month net of taxes. So that is what, so inflation is a big risk, and it's eating up into our savings, our lifestyle, our dependency. So this is of prime importance. Another thing which has changed a lot is the longevity, right? In 1947, the average age of an Indian was 45 years. And today, while I speak with you, it is more than 70 years. So imagine if you have stopped working, say, at the age of 50, 55, 60, then you have at least 15 years to live off this money. And assume, and I mean, I always feel you should be self-sufficient. So that is the amount you need to earn. So the new arithmetic, as they say, for savings and for senior citizen and for people like everyone on this forum is, suppose you start working at the age of 25 and you work up to the age of 55, then you have 30 years to go to live off the monies you earn for 30 years. And then money is not going to grow, may not grow, but this is what is going to sustain you. And suppose you have a family member, any loved one dependent on you. So in this small savings, you all have to live out of that. So I've heard very often young people, oh, I want to retire at the age of 40, I have 10 crores. That's not going to get you anywhere. So it's a very common thing which I've heard repeatedly by the Gen Z, who says, oh, I want to retire. So you cannot afford to retire. That's that you cannot retire. Another thing is what has changed is the social dynamics. Now there are more and more nuclear families. Plus they, who have a sort of a sedentary life. So everybody is getting a high dependence on medical care, which has actually gone up, right? And the propensity to earn is not increasing. While we can show you all the returns, you made 20%, no. A small example, a PPF, Public Provident Fund, which is, which we all put from the year 1986 to 2000, gave you 12% return. At this point, the Public Provident Fund gives you 7.1%, which is less than inflation. So you are living in a world where you're getting returns which is less than inflation. So that's the importance of planning your next step in life. You have to start, and you have to start investing. So this is what
Yeah, I think, what you're saying, I think we're all learning a bunch of new things. But what stayed with me from what you talked about really is that arithmetic of retirement. And since we are possibly talking to a lot of people who are in their late 50s, early 60s at this point in time. I think I also want to sort of give them a little bit of hope, saying that one, of course, there is inflation and the entire longevity shift, and therefore the amount of money you need just keeps growing. But then the number of avenues you have for retirement and investment today is probably much more than what was available, let's say, 20 years ago. It would be lovely to hear from you, Vaishali, about really some of these avenues, and I'd love for you to talk to us in detail about the ones that you really think are very relevant for an audience which is in its 50s and 60s.
So Paroma, you're totally right? The avenues which the SEBI and all our ruling bodies have opened are many. So earlier I just gave the example of public provident fund, PPF, because that was the only source of where I could safely put the monies. So one, we shouldn't get overwhelmed with all that data, because on the positive side, many things have changed in your favor, correct? And all these things that I am going to talk to you about are very regulated. So if you hear somebody, well, I put monies in equity and they have, well, there are many avenues for you, right? For the simplest thing, you can put monies in, say, mutual funds, right? They are simple, liquid, and as a senior citizen, they give you the avenue to withdraw monies at any time as per your requirement, right? A lot of senior citizens have this apprehensions that if I put my monies and I need them 3 days later, 3 years later, will I have access to it? Absolutely. There have been instruments such as systematic withdrawal plan. You can plug and play with it. You can say, okay, every month, this is the corpus I've invested and I will require 30,000 rupees, 50,000. That can be set up. So you will have no, online it can be set up. So you'll have no interaction with anybody. It's a lot of times as a senior citizen, as it was mentioned, that we don't want to use the net so much. We don't want to, get onto the computer. It's simple. It's a simple way to suggest any of your financial advisor can set up for you. So you will have the comfort of liquidity. Other than that, there are traditional instruments which have always been there, is fixed deposits. You can put a recurring fixed deposit and get interest on it, but that's fully taxable. Going back to mutual funds, they're tax efficient also. And there are many avenues, you can do debt, equity, combination of debt, equity, a liquid fund, which you can put as low as like 7 days and you'll get the monies. Other than that, there are traditional instruments which you always have to look at, because irrespective of your age, you still have to pay taxes. So there are senior citizen schemes which have a minimum of 30 lakhs. There's NPS, National Pension Scheme. There are annuity plans. So there are many plans which you have a choice and are very legitimate in nature, very easy to operate, and some of them are very liquid. So I would recommend that please look at other avenues other than simple bank deposits or just putting monies into savings bank. You'll be surprised that it's so easy to get the money growing. While there's inflation, there are many more avenues to earn monies as well.
Vaishali, I'll probably ask you to talk a little more about mutual funds, and I'm coming here from the lens of you talking to an audience which may or may not have ever invested in both systematic investment but also in systematic withdrawal. Why don't you talk to us a little bit more about, like you said, that the process is easy. Somebody could advise you to do it. What could be a possible starting point for somebody who doesn't have an advisor or doesn't already work with an organization? How does one start?
Just to go back to it, I just said the industry is 85 lakh crore, right? So which is a big amount. And the size of SIPs have now increased to over 31,000 rupees per month. The words and the terminology and the procedure might sound overwhelming, with any of you on this audience can go to your nearest bank and talk to your financial advisors or somebody like my team and just say, I have a liquidity of 1,000 rupees. In fact, I should really encourage you to do it for your staff, because India is largely a poor country. So anybody is your caregiver, your tenant, you say, okay, take out 500 rupees a month and just invest. That's 2-page paperwork. So how a SIP works is that you give the bank a mandate to take out maybe 500,000, 50,000 per month, and it automatically gets debited. So you do not require any interference from your side, intervention from your side to set these up. Then on the other side, to give you comfort of the liquidity, you can say, suppose you have a corpus of 1 lakh. 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs, any amount, you can say, okay, every month I will need 10,000 rupees. So you just have to again tell your advisor, or you can do this online, that you require monies of 10,000 rupees. So one is systematic investment plan. This is called a systematic withdrawal plan. So you can take out monies every month. So it's actually not for somebody who's very sophisticated, has a lot of financial knowledge. It requires just to speak to your banker, advisor, or anybody and just tell them to set it up for you. So in this audience, I would highly encourage people to set this up. And mutual funds are very well regulated. There are various types of funds, you can, basis or taxation, the monies doesn't come to you in the form of interest income, which is the case in bank deposits. Hence, it's always taxable. So you can do it monies come to you in the form of capital gain. Suppose you put 100 rupees in any fund and you made 5 rupees, that's actually in the form of capital gain, and the taxation is very conducive there. So that's the product I would highly encourage you to do. And it is and I've seen people of all ages, they could be doing for a grandchild, they could even be doing for their parents, or profile, If you are an HNI, you are a basic retail investor, you can go ahead and look at these avenues for investing. So this is what it is for. And again, I'm reiterating that nothing is as complicated as it sounds. It's a very basic thing. If you have gone ahead and opened a savings bank account, then this is simpler.
So I have 2 follow-up questions. I think you did mention that the minimum amount is as less as 500. But also, is there a cap on how much you can invest in mutual funds? And the other follow-up question, I think I will take off from the introductory conversation of this webinar, which is that if I'm banking online, even for my mutual funds, as somebody who does this every day, what would be some of the things that you would recommend seniors to watch out for? For example, when we do a transaction, we always check in terms of the links that are sent to us, you advise, and then one authorizes it. But for some people who have not done it before, how would you ask them to look at this digital journey in this world today?
See, if you're not comfortable with the digital journey, because I know a lot of people who are not, right? You don't need to do it. That's the beauty of it. You can do it online or offline. As I said, walk up to your bank or who is advising. It's very simple, 1-page form, right? You don't need to get into this mode. Oh, how will I do it? How will I get my OTP? How will you enter? Just do it physical. You can transfer monies online, but then enough and more people who still issue a check. And nothing is wrong with either of the two, right? In fact, I would discourage, if you're not very comfortable with doing online, don't try to be a maverick and learn all this. Basic form, the forms have become so simple. It's 1-pager, and just go walk up to anybody or your financial advisor that I want to do a SIP or I want to set up a SWP. Because once these are set, you don't have to see the banker or anybody again. So both procedures are fine. Maybe you are good at an online and maybe your mom isn't. It's okay. Everybody is a phone call away. She can say, okay, I need the monies, or I need to put in monies. It doesn't even have to be a monthly fixed amount. You can say, I have a commitment, a marriage, a medical, give me X amount of monies, and it's just in 1 to 2 days, the money will be there in your account. While I'm telling this, I know somebody who's trying to liquidate the insurance policy. They haven't got the money for the last 10 days. But here, they're defined rules and regulations. The mutual funds have to honor it. It's not that, oh, please help me, please get the monies out. Not at all. So one, online is not a necessity. Paperwork is very simple, and because these rules and regulations are, done by the SEBI, so it's nobody's, whims and fancies. You'll get the monies, or you are. So it's like a provident fund, which is very good, but there's a 15-year lock-in, no lock-ins, and almost no exit loads. But you can always check the exit load while investing.
Perfect. I think this is a very important tool for our seniors and those who are also looking at investing in general to consider. I also wanted to understand a little bit from you about two other tools and avenues that you have talked about. One is, of course, the Senior Citizens Savings Scheme, and the other is annuity plans. So you've talked a little bit about PPF and FDs as well. But for those who don't know about these other plans, maybe tell us a little more about the SCSS and annuity plans. Again, how are they?
So annuity plans converts a lump sum into a guaranteed regular income stream, right? Effectively, you're insuring against the risk of outliving your savings. See, now this is one of the biggest risks. It all looks good even when you're 40, 50, 60, but you do not know when you have a genuine medical requirement and you have a social commitment. So they're relevant for like NPS. So there are certain schemes which give you a certain income. So say X amount of years back, you have stopped earning so you're 60, after 65, you don't have any source of income, which is okay, right? I mean, because you've stopped earning and you don't want to be dependent on anyone, so you can start an annuity scheme. So that is, and mutual funds, suppose you had some sort of liquidity at a certain stage of your life and you have invested and the monies have grown, you can withdraw that as well at any point. So a lot of these products, they come with liquidity. Before investing, you can cross-check, see the maximum amount of products other than mutual funds, and then create a system that after so many years, you want a certain amount of money. In fact, there are many. So there are other instruments like a reverse mortgage, you pledge your home, but those are extreme cases. Going back to a simple thing like gold has gone up so much. If it's of no use to you, please liquidate. There are many more efficient ways of investing in commodities at this stage. So you don't need to go to some jeweler, and when you want to liquidate, they don't have the liquidity, or it's coming to you in cash. There are many other ways, which is what I said earlier also, and I'm again reiterating, there are many avenues for investments, and it's been made very, very comfortable and easy by our regulators. If you go on the net, you can just see it. If you're not adept to go online, you can easily talk to somebody. Everybody is a phone call away. So right. Just for example, like what happened to gold in the last 1 year, silver, what had happened, I'm not talking about specific asset classes, but I'm encouraging you to do all these purchases online, like electronically, right? Do not buy physical assets, but electronic assets.
Vaishali, just coming back to talking a little bit about the senior citizen savings scheme also. Just wanted your thoughts on that, since it's a government-backed scheme. What kind of returns does one look at when it's a scheme like that?
So there's a 30 lakh rupee limit, which is revised, and interest is paid quarterly, making it suitable to get predictable returns. I'm not sure at the exact rate what we are getting, but I know the amounts are increased and you're getting quarterly. I will check and revert to you on the senior citizen savings rate.
This is a quarterly income that one can get from a lump sum.
So quarterly income you can get from many sources. You can get from a simple bank deposit, and you ask them to pay you quarterly. You can do it through a senior savings, even mutual funds through a systematic withdrawal plan. You can ask them to give you monies every month, every 2 months, 3 months. So that's what I'm trying to say. The government is also very cognizant that this inflation, lifestyle is changing, and this longevity is increasing. We all know that these are printed numbers. So they are also finding avenues. In fact, if you sit on a business channel, even for half an hour, there'll be so many ads which will be talking about it. What is good to invest and all.
So I think this segues very well into what I wanted to spend most time talking about. And I was asking about quarterly income, and then you also talked about the systematic withdrawal plans can also be structured as per need. When you're retirement planning, you correctly talked about it, it's not a one-time thing. And you need to prepare for a longer part of your life. In the beginning, you said that what you earn for 30 years should last you for another 30, if not more. What is if one had to create a framework for planning the rest of your life, and that, like you said, includes day-to-day planning, includes long-term planning, includes family members, includes health and emergency, what can a framework for this holistic financial planning really look like?
So actually, it is not so complicated, and it doesn't pertain to a senior citizen. It can pertain to anybody. Life is so precarious. I mean, I've seen many cases in COVID, premature deaths and all. So Paroma, I'm talking about that this again should be your Bible. First of all, a simple thing is what is your requirement. Just, a lot of people say, no, I don't need, or I need a marriage and all, but sit with a pen and paper on yourself and say, okay, I've told you the inflation number, I've told you how long you can live, I've shared the family dynamics which is changing. So suppose you have 1 lakh rupees, you have to be honest to yourself, will it sustain you the number? And keep a cushion of 4 to 5%, which is like, say, 5,000 rupees, right? So first be true to yourself and see how much monies I actually need post-retirement or post a time. It can be 45 years I stopped working and my regular income doesn't come, right? And another very important thing is, and especially I learned it in demonetization, is assess what you already have. A lot of people think they don't have anything, but you will be surprised, like in demonetization, I had a lot of wives of my clients, calling me, my paas thoda cash pada hai. I used to get some kharchi. And they came out with boxes of cash, right? So here in this forum, I would highly encourage people, please go ahead, look at your provident fund balance, look if you have any EPF, NPS, FD, real estate. Then look back if you have any physical gold, what can be monetized? Because I feel as an Indian, we keep, assets stashed somewhere that we will need them one day. But you'd be much smarter if you liquidate some monies, put it in assets which are earning income. Gold maybe went up to $5,500 an ounce, and you did not go and say, what good is that for you? If it's not in your hand, right? You're not getting the liquidity in your hand. So assess everything you have. Ask all now there are statements which can show you all your mutual fund statements, and the government, I'm not sure if the policy has come out for, unclaimed deposits. Go to a bank deposit, take the monies out. It was at a lower rate, see it and speak and find out that if you can improve your what you are getting. Then a very simple way to bridge the gap is through SIPs, right? Set aside some money and set it as a religion, as a discipline, and with consistency. That I want to put aside 5,000 or 10,000 rupees per month, whatever happens. Try not to skip this amount, just then make the structure through, these are my savings. One is already, this is my requirement, this is my savings, and this is what I will need month on month. And retirement is a very, very dynamic process. It's not that once you sat with a pen and paper and you think you have made yourself very comfortable. Suppose you put some investments at the age of 40, 45, 50. Now your goals have changed. You cannot have a very dynamic portfolio. You can do a hybrid portfolio by doing a combination in debt and equity. So please, like many of us here, must be going for our medical checkups, right? Basic medical checkups. We take that so seriously, right? Oh, my medical checkup is due. Why don't I get this done? Why? Some may be covered by the government through various CGHS schemes. I would request you, don't make it a second, make it a very, very, very close next to a first. Like you are looking after your health and you're worried and you're trying to increase your longevity, please look at financial planning as a process, a dynamic process, right? Please, please relate both of them to the same thing. Oh, I haven't gone and met my advisor. It's 3 months. I don't know what's happening. Oh, I need to go to a bank. So you don't have to, a lot of things are online, but you can go offline, ask somebody to take you and do that also. So please use this process very dynamically. And as you age, as your requirements change, de-risk your plans, right? And yes, in the beginning, I was told about like making your wills, nominations. Interestingly, nominations don't have much importance, right? You have to create a will, register the will. Please give your assets to somebody. You don't want them lying abandoned all your life, right? Or their, families are quarreling as close as you are to your siblings. You never know what can happen. You don't know how circumstances change, and circumstances are very dynamic and they change very fast. So this is the basic thing is how, if you don't have any investments or you have, how to look after it and how to grow it. At this stage of your life, you might have more money. So please, at any stage, look at restoring your monies and making it grow. That's it. And then you can live a happy life, enjoy hobbies you couldn't pursue at one stage, or you wanted to travel, whatever you want to do. Please live comfortably, because there are ways and means to live comfortably irrespective of the monies you have. Of course, the larger you have, the more amount you have, it's much better, right? But everybody doesn't have. I read somewhere an Indian does not save more than 30 lakh rupees ever in their lives, right? So you could have more or less, but at least what you have, like your own health system, please respect it. Respect your monies, make yourself more healthy, and make yourself more relevant by getting your financial assets together. And there's really nothing more than that in financial planning. There can be hundreds of jargons, hundreds of mantras. Why don't you look this? My friend suggested this product, this real estate product scheme is giving me confirmed monthly income. I would say just keep it simple. That's it. It's just something, keep it as simplest. That's it.
I'll come back to recapping this, keep it simple, but I think for the benefit of all our audiences, Vaishali has in effect given all of us like a formula, and I will ask her to repeat it once more. But before that, I want to ask something that you talked about, and maybe it was not part of our discussion points, but you talked about something around the will, and you said that nominations have a relative value today. A lot of people may not understand what that means, but why don't you tell us a little bit why you feel and why legally that is the right thing to do?
So, Paroma, if you have certain monies, there's a column now compulsory by mutual funds which you have to fill. This is the new evolution. It's an evolution now. So, say it's Mrs. Ganguly, your mother, just as an example, and she nominates Paroma as a nominee to get all the wealth. So in the thing, as per the form, you have to write a nominee, or you have to specifically say, I choose not to have a nominee. That's very little work done. The will has to be registered, and suppose she decides, you have a sibling, say, you have a sister, she says, I don't want to give it in her will, she says, I don't want to give it to Paroma. I want to give it to charity. You cannot question. While you are nominated as a custodian, but you are not nominated as a beneficiary. So you must educate, everybody here should go to some professional. This is something we all feel very lazy and in our comfort zone, don't go out of the way. I can count myself also in this. But the person who has made the will and is registered has all the rights. None of you have any rights, and it's contested. You go into circles, and you know how law is in India. You don't want to be struggling with it all your life. So this is what it is. So another thing I would highly encourage everybody in this forum is make a will, register will. You can read it out to your children that this, or whoever be your dependents, you will get this, you will get this. Or just, your lawyer, if a registered will has full power, right? And I can give it to charity, I can give it to my caretaker, anybody. I have no obligation to give it to my children.
I think that's a very important point. So I wanted to come back to it. Before we recap some of the things that Vaishali has talked about, Vaishali, we have about 5 questions. And some of the questions, I think people have really started thinking about the things that we've talked about. Some of the questions will put us to task. So I have a couple of questions, actually 3, which are around planning. And I will take each of them up to you. I think the first one is a very simple question, but I think will also help you apply the formula. Somebody is asking, Pushkar is asking, I have 5 lakhs in my hand right now. How should I invest it? Is there anything simplest thing that you would recommend somebody to do if they have, spare 5 lakhs?
In fact, I would step back, Paroma. I have learned so much through this exercise, right? Because we keep thinking I know everything, but through this exercise, I'm very grateful to you. I've learned something. So at 5 lakh rupees, and it depends on your age, I would just say put it in, I'm not very sure of an annuity product or the liquidity or NPS, but simple, put it in a hybrid fund, in a mutual fund. That's it. And assuming you don't need those 5 lakhs. Because if you look at it, there's been the West Asia war from end of February. So you said you needed the monies in March, April, May, maybe till of December this year, then you're stuck. So you should keep it aside for 5-7 years, create a way, which I just discussed, of having, like a systematic withdrawal plan or something. Otherwise, I would say a hybrid fund, but with a time horizon of 3 to 5 years, because everything is so uncertain. If you look at the Nifty, which is the benchmark index, it's negative last 2 years. And you cannot say, but you told me I can put the monies, I get the monies, or I'll get monthly. No. Just if you are starting today, which I also say is not late to start, keep a longer time horizon. Otherwise, just keep it in a normal deposit where you'll get some monthly. But it's not going to really accrue, and it's not going to be tax efficient. This is what it is.
Yeah. So
if somebody has 5 lakhs or 50 lakhs, it's the same thing. That you keep monies for a longer term, make it tax efficient, and you really should not look at it for few years, because the world is getting, today somebody asked me, but let's see the date my SIP went and where the markets are going. The world is too dynamic. At best, I can just advise you that keep it longer or anything, but you can't say what happened to my monies, when is the war getting over. Nobody can tell you anything. And if anybody is trying to say, oh, I made 12% equity, so will you? Rubbish. Please do the exercise on your own. It's dynamic and very volatile. Everything. There's no easy run with an inflation of more than 7% and guaranteed returns in the range of 7%. If you want to earn more than that, you have to take the risk, but you have to take with a longer time horizon. I hope I answer Pushkar's question.
Yes, so there's a related question which has come from Gaurav, and he's asking, how can we find a good mutual fund for long term?
So I'll tell you what, if your monies are genuinely long term, because a lot of people get confused, they say my monies is long term. 1 year later, they say, but I put in $100, now it's 90. No, long term, everybody has a different definition, but my definition of long term actually is 10 years. Then you can put in any good equity fund and forget about it. Because see, go back last 6 years. We've had COVID, we've had West Asia war, we have, the Prime Minister not almost winning every day something's going to happen. Interest rates are at an all-time high, inflation has gone up. So, Japan, who had zero inflation today, and read a number, there are more than 4% inflation. Every day something's going to happen, which is beyond anyone's control. So keep all that in mind and keep monies for a longer period of time.
So there's a question from RG from Kamalpur in Tripura. And it's a very interesting question around how can I structure my income streams to ensure I do not outlive my retirement savings. So definitely one part of that is beyond our control, how much we will outlive and not. But thoughts on structuring income streams?
I would suggest, which I just spoke earlier, RG, first go over everything what you have, right? Which includes your physical assets. If you have 2 real estate, one is doing nothing, you're thinking of giving it to your children. No. First, secure yourself. First, do a financial checkup, like you do a health checkup, you do your own financial checkup, and actually I have this. Then look at various instruments for investing. It can be NPS, annuity, mutual funds. So then start investing monies. Don't let money lie in a bank deposit. Okay, fine, bank deposit also, or a savings bank, but then you have to make investments a process and a disciplined process. That's the only way you can do. There is no other mantra at any age, right? So do a checkup what you have, look at various avenues for investing, and then invest the monies based on your risk horizon and your time horizon. And as Paroma begun with the conversation today, that it's very simple, but it has to be very consistent and disciplined, right? You can do it in the form of a SIP, do it in the form of investments. It's very transparent what you're going to earn in, say, government-linked products, right? Like annuity or PPF. So work it around, do some hard work around it. In Tripura, there would be people. I can check a good financial advisor in Tripura. Maybe share the coordinates. I don't know anybody. I will also go and check from my network. That's what you should do.
I have a follow-up question on that, Vaishali. Amongst all the investment avenues that you talked about, is there a appropriate split to say that if I have X amount of money, should I split it between mutual funds, fixed deposit? Is there any way to work this with that kind of a mindset?
No, it is very personal. There are people who put all their monies in fixed deposits, and there are enough and more people who put it all in mutual funds. There is no fixed mantra, but it's a very simple saying that your age, 100 minus your age, right? So suppose you're 100 and you are 30 years old, then you can put 70 rupees in equity. A simple formula which we discussed. So if you have a 20-year-old, you can put 80% equity and so on and so forth. But there is nothing, it depends a lot on the propensity of the person who's willing to lose monies. See, I know you won't lose your 7.1 in BPF. I don't think you lose your 8.2% on a senior citizen. Mutual funds, there's no, as when you hear ads and otherwise the first line it says, no, these are not guaranteed, right? Nothing is, they're not guaranteed. You can keep hoping that I get the monies back, but it's less than a hope also.
So we have a related question from Trivandrum, and I think this question will also come to you as something that you will need to think about. The question is, how do you decide if or when can you invest in a senior care facility, a senior care home? So at what stage would you think a senior citizen, what is that balance between how much money I already have and therefore I can move into a senior living facility? Any such instances, any thoughts on this, Vaishali?
No, I know somebody whose family was very well off, and the lady preferred to be in a senior's care. See, I don't know how much they're costing, but please check, Paroma. You might know better that what's their cost and what's the amount they already have. And now, the order of the day may be senior care, right? Because everybody doesn't have so many people looking after them. You don't want to be dependent on attendance. So I don't have any idea how much it costs. Please look at it and then make a rational decision. Might be cheaper to be home, but might not be safer to be home. And if you're home, you'll every day be struggling with your staff, every small thing. I understand that senior care people look after you very well. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I've heard.
So also, Vaishali, I'll probe a little bit. You think?
Yeah, please,
like
I would rather you intervene in this.
So I'm just asking, from a financial planning perspective, like an SIP/SWP plan, how does one use that to pay for, let's say, living at a senior living facility? So how can one think of financial planning to be able to afford something like that? Just some thoughts on that as well.
So just see the liquidity you have. So suppose you're trying to take out, say, 50,000 rupees a month, because I think they're quite expensive. I don't know, right? You should have a decent corpus that should be able to give you 50,000 a month. So you can't have 5 lakhs, it'll finish in 10 months. And you have to have a larger corpus to do yourself that this is what it is, because finally your money is coming out to you. That's what it is. It's nobody else is giving you. It's not a loan. It's your money is coming back to you. So please do your own check that this is what I actually have. This is what I'm expecting. These are my expenses. These are my, I'm selling a property I might have. And this is what I can give away every month.
I think wonderful point for Ms. Radha Krishnaswamy from Trivandrum. I think, ma'am, for you, the important thing to think about is that whatever you have should help you stay at a senior care home for the longer run. It should not be a case where you go for 10 months and have to come back because you have, your runway has sort of finished. So I think plan based on how long the runway is and for how long you can continue to, take the support of that senior care home. So I think that should be the financial lens to that. One more question, Vaishali, and then we will do a recap of some of the important things you talked about.
Sorry, Paroma, that's very correctly said by you. You should do a recap and you don't want to be coming 10 months later. That's very well summarized with recap by you. So tell me the question.
Yeah, Divya from Raipur, and she has a question which I'm sure all of us have, which is what are the most common mistakes people make when they focus on individual investment?
So, sorry, what's her name? So I'll tell you what, Divya, ma'am, I don't know your age. We all make so many mistakes. Somebody like me, after investing for 35 years, I'm telling you at least 30-40% time I have a regret. They've always said these markets are, only about regret. So you cannot perfect it at all, and don't blame yourself if you could not perfect it, because there are people who will make mistakes, but do a little bit asset allocation. I mean, look at your portfolio, what you have. Suppose you have 100 rupees and you have a requirement of 100 rupees, then be very judicious in investing. If you have some portion, say 20 rupees of the 100 rupees, and you don't care, you lose, but you are looking to make little alpha, more returns, and look at equities, right? Study what have been the past returns, but just be very careful, because monies are very hard to earn, right? They don't come back to you, and most people don't have a source where somebody will be willing to give, or most people do not want to take monies from someone. So just see, these are the monies, and if you really look at it, last 2 years there have been negative returns. But if you have put in SIPs, which was monthly, maybe your monies were not negative. So Divya ma'am, just look what you have and how much you're willing to lose. But be very careful if this is the only corpus you have and you don't have a monthly source of income.
I also think that our conversation on the will has triggered thoughts in people's minds. So there's a question from Akhila Gauri Shankar ji, and the question is, if both husband and wife have properties in individual names, do you suggest they make registered wills separately, or is there another alternative?
100% separately. I think so. You can check with her, but because see suppose a wife, suppose they have children, the wife might have her own thought process to give the property, right? She might, again, I said, wants to give it to one child, no child. Assets are with different people in different names. Please create different wills. This is my understanding of will.
And one
How can the wife decide that she wants to, how can the husband decide the wife should give her property to this person? Right?
Absolutely.
If the property has been in her name for taxation, inheritance, better would be let her decide what she wants. Because these can be hugely questions, problems of contention later on when one of the spouse goes away. Because that spouse has made their will, right? You can't question that will. So make it clear and simple from the beginning.
One last question, Vaishali. I think you've answered it a few times, but Shivram from Trivandrum is asking a very existential question, I would say. He says savings can happen only if one has balance of disposable income. With the increased inflation, income becoming lesser, how do people save for their old age when they see new stuff to buy and the luxury industry keeps advertising and ushering us to buy all of them? And saving is a far cry for most of the middle income and low income people. I will also tag this back to an overall, recap by you. I think you talked about save no matter how little it is. So, we will end this conversation, Vaishali. I'll encourage you to just recap also, that basic mantra of savings. Maybe just repeat that so that everybody takes that away with them at the end of this.
What? I come from a school of thought where your monies can make monies. If you don't have a source of income, do not invest in any luxury or anything. There's a concept called need to and have to, right? Only do if you have to. You need food, shelter for your medical requirements. Don't get carried away. I don't know if this forum they'll take credit card, interest, borrowing on credit cards and all. Make it very simple. You cannot be a maverick as soon as you are 50. Okay, it doesn't matter. This person is suggesting me this home, let me buy. Or you think you're very smart. Okay, actually I need a better car. Let me buy a better car. Sadly, it doesn't happen. Because at best, people like me can only tell you how to make monies of your monies, right? I can't create the money. But yes, about one thing on creating money, do your own health checkup. See what you already have. If you think you have some gold which is not of any value, you have 2 homes, monetize it. Monetize assets you don't need, but I won't even say overspend. Don't spend on anything which is necessity. Sorry, I come from a very old school of thought and old, where I've learned in all my working life to save and all. I know Gen Z and everybody thinks differently and thinks we are fool. Maybe my children as well, that we don't spend as much. But sorry, you have got a person on the forum who's very conservative, because I've seen things go awry many times. And then you think that person will save me. I don't think anybody's here to do charity. I don't think they'll save you, right? This is what it is. So advertiser job is to advertise, no? They have to induce you to buy a better car. They have to tell you, why don't you do this? And they can make that as a necessity. To be smart about it. Because tomorrow, Paroma, me, or anybody in this forum cannot help you. And all the people who promise that they can help you cannot help you. I've seen it way too many times.
I think that's a
Sorry,
wonderful note
anything
to
exciting here to tell you that, you
no,
can.
that's a wonderful note, Vaishali, to summarize everything. I think let your monies make money. And I really think what you said about when you're 50 and after that, think about how you spend and don't spend just because you want to spend. Because you have to help yourself. It's wonderful. And for everybody who still has questions on wills, I think, this is a series on financial conversations, and the next one is going to be on estate planning. The next Adda will talk about estate planning. So for those of you who have more questions on planning, how you want to give away what you have, please do join us for that. But having said that, I think this has been a truly engaging conversation. Vaishali, you have simplified so many things that we all hear about but don't understand, especially SIPs, SWPs, digitally investing versus being still able to do it physically. You've talked about a very good mathematical equation, understand what you have, understand the gap, then plan what you need to invest, and the basics of investing even small amounts every month. So I think it's a great starting point. I really want to thank you for collaborating with us on this. You and I have been talking about the questions. I have learned so much.
Paroma, sorry to intervene. I would recommend that for somebody with 100 crores as well. It's the same thing, right? Because I was talking to somebody who's got children, and so children to look. So it's the same thing. It can be you, your mother, me, my child. It's the same mantra for investing. And the many complicated jargons, which actually I don't understand. I don't understand financial jargon. I just believe in simplicity. That's all what it is, right? So
Wonderful.
that's it. And you summarize it well, and I echo your sentiments, and I'm sure you'll agree with what I've spoken.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Kuku, over to you for wrapping up the session.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Ms Vaishali Karna, National Operation Head and BU Head, Travels with Care. Very welcome again, and thank you for joining us. We begin our SilverGenie Adda session 3.0. SilverGenie Adda has always been more than a series of sessions. It is a community space for meaningful conversation, learning, sharing, connection, and belonging. With Adda 3.0, we aim to create in-depth experience of topics that continue beyond each session. We want everyone who joins Adda to leave with something valuable, a fresh perspective, a new connection, a smile, and or simply the reassurance of being part of a caring community. Today, we are delighted to take this vision forward with the launch of Adda, a silver platform celebrating talent, creativity, and lived experience of seniors. I will use creative activities to help seniors connect and build meaningful relationships. It will also encourage them to express and showcase their passions through music, poetry, writing, painting, photography, storytelling, handicraft, dance, and many other creative forms. Age does not limit creativity. It enriches it with experience, perspective, and stories. Adai is our way of saying your talent deserves recognition, your story deserves to be heard, and your creative deserves a platform. So, I end this excellent discussion between Vaishali and Paroma, and welcome again everybody to Adda 3.0 and the beginning of Adai. Here's a small glimpse of what Adai is. So thank you everyone, and hope to meet the next 3.0 real estate planning. Thank you everyone. Have a great day.